Hi, this is Kasian, and it's time for a weekly conference call at VectorspaceAI. We'll start with what's happening around the world. Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of BTC, Bitcoin, and that's about 8% of its cash on hand. And there were numbers run related to how many companies, public companies, had the ability to do something similar. And I think it was about $1.6 trillion worth of purchase power might exist on companies' books based on the cash that they have on hand if they did a similar move as Tesla. Now, we know that Apple, everyone is looking at Apple. Apple looks to be next. And it's actually inevitable. Whether they like it or not, they're going to have to embrace crypto. Wall Street Bets has also historically rejected crypto. So now their go-to play, Tesla, has made a big bet on BTC and crypto as a whole. So we anticipate that Wall Street bettors will be crawling all over crypto. The second piece of global news would be therapeutics versus vaccines. Vaccines are proving to be not as effective as some have thought based on the variants that are popping up. For example, AstraZeneca and Oxford had canceled their vaccine rollout in South Africa based on new variants coming up and that vaccine not being effective. So people are looking for therapeutics, that is, drugs that can be either developed, repurposed, or repositioned. Moving on to themes and events. We've been tracking several themes. The first would be the acquisition of GW Pharmaceuticals for $7.2 billion. That basket did pretty well. It beat the market by over 10% over the course of a few days. And then we had another event related to Cassava Sciences, symbol SAVA. They announced favorable results February 2nd for its drug called Simufilm, which treats Alzheimer's. Simufilm restores normal shape and function of altered protein filament A. So filament A is the protein name. And when you look at a piece of news like this would be the topic or the set of keywords or the term that you'd want to hone in on if you wanted to build a specialized thematic basket. So, for example, this thematic basket was built based on that protein name, filament A. And the basket returned, I think, over 20% over the market, over the benchmark, the S&P that we're using. The next event we had was Yale researchers develop injection to treat skin cancer using bioadhesive nanoparticles. And we had a number of plays here in this basket. Rubius Therapeutics was one of them, symbol RUBY. They went from $10 to $15 based on the nanoparticle micro theme. And then, of course, we've got Tesla and BTC. This theme. This is going to be an ongoing theme, and it's probably going to result in several baskets, both on the traditional market side and on the crypto side. And for more on our thematic baskets, themes and events, and how we produce them and their returns, you can join the VXV Thematic Baskets Tier 1 channel. Just make a request online on our Telegram. On the industry side, Kaggle has produced a State of Data Science and Machine Learning report. We'd recommend all take a look at that. Kaggle is the world leader in terms of dataset distribution, open source dataset distribution, and they are owned by Google. We also have more Google news. Google's Smith algorithm, and Smith, S-M-I-T-H, their algorithm outperforms BERT, B-E-R-T. And as you know, based on our previous calls and what we talk to the public about often, BERT is a state-of-the-art language model that is being used across Google products. So now Google has developed Smith that outperforms BERT. So we'll see if we can leverage that in our ensemble of language models that include OpenAI's, BERT's, and a number of others, and our experimentals. Next, we've got Palantir and IBM. They formed a partnership based on an AI deal. So that's something we're tracking. And then, of course, we have to mention, because we're dealing in the datasets, natural language processing, AI, ML industry, along with the crypto industry and the traditional market industry, traditional financial markets, Tesla and BTC. That is an event, an industry-related event that will send changes across the industry here and there. On the corporate side, we have a 500K block that has exited our wallet. We transacted that based on compensation and bonuses to our data engineering team. On the corp side, we've also got ongoing legal work and a bit of HR work as well as we bring aboard new people this month, by the end of this month, on the data engineering side. Next, we've got engineering, product, and ops. And new data, S&P, and cloud quant are our focus. And we have another focus. We've got another large enterprise company. This is GNC. And many of you may have heard of GNC. We're submitting paperwork to them for review. They're considering becoming a partner of Vectorspace's based on providing data sets that power their recommendation systems and a few other things. We'll get into that later. They have about 4,000 stores in the United States and about 2,000 internationally. So what this is going to mean for engineering, we are working on a few statement of works. These are SOWs, that's what we call them. They represent proof of concepts or feasibility studies or rollout of joint development work related to our data sets and recommendations clusters. So engineering is hard work on this. So they're straddling between a few different things here. As we know, new data that largely relates to trial agreements, and S&P largely relates to two data sets that we want to roll out with them, and cloud quant, the same data sets, and that would be an API rollout. On the customers, partners, and collaborators side, we have a laser-like focus. And on sales and marketing, we are throttled. Sales and marketing is throttled, with the exception of anything coming from the new data pipeline. And we are also getting ready for the pipelines to open up from Cloud Quant and S&P. And when we say pipelines, we are talking about dataset distribution pipelines, and that would mean customers flowing from them to us. So sales and marketing has to be ramped up and prepared for that, which they are. Next, we've got questions from the trader base. You've been talking about VXV as a company using their own tools to trade stock like GME, GameStop. Where do the gains from said stock trades go to? Company revenue? Okay, so the answer to this is we'll be trading capital in the markets when we raise enough in the investment club. And if you'd like more information about that, you can join our investment club. Just put in a request on the channel. The next question is, I've got a question on future company plans. Is Vectorspace eventually looking to go public in the stock markets? And what will happen to the VXV utility token when equity gets issued? So these are unknowns, and they're unknowns for a reason. No other company has done exactly what we want to do, and that would be to investigate several paths, conduct an analysis on the best paths forward in terms of how we represent Vectorspace as a trading vehicle across markets, across crypto and traditional markets. And we know that there are regulations coming up the pike where no one knows how they're going to solidify. And no one knows the costs involved, no one knows the timing. But what we do know is that we intend to list on NASDAQ or NYSE. And when it comes to VXV tokens are where the value is. There's no extracting VXV tokens from this equation. The VXV token is used for data provenance, and data provenance connects directly to data security. You've got to have reliable data, or your predictions can't be relied upon. So when we look to groom the company, we'll provide updates. We're currently grooming the company, but when we look to further groom the company to list on a U.S. public exchange like NASDAQ or NYSE, as they themselves are grooming themselves and shaping themselves up to accept cryptocurrency companies to be listed, we'll see how things shape up as a whole, and we'll have to time things right. But we'll keep the public updated. The next question is the benefits of the NLP in predicting stock gains or losses on an event seems to rely, as I understand it, on some form of human intervention, human in the loop, result curation based on domain expertise, human expert in that industry or subject area. Can you walk us through the recent event GameStop short squeeze? First, let me get back to that first sentence that I just mentioned here. There was no question mark, so it looked like it was part of the second sentence. But let me read it again. The benefits of the NLP in predicting stock gains, losses based on an event seems to rely on, as I understand it, some form of human intervention, human in the loop, or curation, or domain expertise. This is true, and the best results you'll find are when you have humans in the loop, when you combine the human brain with the AI brain, basically. You need to augment yourself with AI systems or ML systems, usually, and this is one way to do it. You have an AI or an ML system provide you with a set of results, and you might want to hone those results, filter them in a way that only a human knows how sometimes. So the next question is, can you walk us through the recent event, for example, the GameStop short squeeze? And then there's a colon with A, B, C, and D questions. So let me start this again. Can you walk us through the recent event GameStop short squeeze, for example? What data was curated? So A, what data was curated? Is this a manual process? So we work with data from S&P Global, which includes public company profiles, in addition to encyclopedias and dictionaries, ontologies, taxonomies. We also rely on a bit of news, but mainly rich public company profiles. You can find language that surrounds public company data as well, so we bring in a bit of that. And the data does go through a manual curation process. When we look at a data source, we look at its quality, and we go through a few other metrics to determine how well it can be ingested or transformed. And then B, who curated the data? Usually it's external third parties that are curating data, like the National Library of Medicine curates its own data sources. You've got other data, a variety of data repositories, knowledge repositories as we call them, that have their own methods for curation. And then C, how would customers of CloudQuant, S&P, or New Data do it? Do they need someone in their org, or is that a service Vectorspace can provide? If yes to service, are you capable of providing it for all industries? Okay, so data engineers use our data sets. That's on the institutional and enterprise side. On the retail or consumer side, we are working on interfaces or UIs for that. On the CloudQuant side, you've got something in between. Today, you've got a lot of algorithm developers that are cutting code in Python. They know how to access APIs. They know how to manipulate a little bit of data. They know how to bring in a few libraries. They know how to transform whatever it is they need to. And they know how to talk to third-party APIs and third-party dataset providers. And that's what they do. They talk to our API through CloudQuant. They bring in our dataset, and then they know that they can cluster and bring together groups or networks of publicly traded companies related to a global event. They also have access through a more direct API where they can just get a signal. So we're working with CloudQuant on that, and that would be where you might want to monitor a particular category of global events, maybe related to the chip industry, semiconductor industry. And if any of those events occurred, you would have one flash on your screen, you'd click it, and then you'd see a basket of stocks you'd either be able to curate or with one-click purchase. The one-click purchase would have to happen on the exchange side. However, when you are working with a lot of API guys and algo developers, they do know how to access a variety of APIs that plug directly into exchanges, where they would be able to code up their own one-click basket executions if they wanted to, trade executions. So we're going to be working closely, trying to get as fast as we can toward the retail side. But the money for us right now is on the enterprise and institutional side. That's where the fastest path to revenue is for us. On the retail side, we recognize we can get a lot of users, a lot of high value. We can increase our user base to an extent that would add a tremendous amount of valuation to the company. So that's why we are headed down that path as well. The next question is, I understand that once buybacks occur, 50% of the capital will go towards Vectorspace's revenue, but I'm curious to know, what if customers become happy to source VXV on the open market without Vectorspace buying on behalf of the customer? That's fine with us. That's what we want. That's one of our goals. We want a wide open marketplace for data sets and feature vectors, and anyone that would like to lock down a high value data set or resell it, lease it. Next question, how are data sets generated? That's a loaded question. Are they exclusively generated through the AI models of Vectorspace, or can anyone plug in their AI model in the system and be paid for it? So data sets are generated based on language models, and if you're not familiar with language models, you can look up what language models are. They are vector space models, basically. We extract vectors from language models. We build language models as well, experimental language models. And to build a language model, you bring in data sources. After that language model is built, we have proprietary techniques we use to build data sets. Once those data sets are constructed, they can be accessed through an API. They can be used to power other AI systems. So if you're an AI developer, engineer, machine learning engineer, or data engineer, and would like access to datasets, you can access them through our API. The next question is, there will be a clean interface that tracks all the data. Okay, will there be a clean interface that tracks all the data for clients? When can we expect a preview, potentially? Q1? No, likely near the end of Q2 or Q3 at this point. We're focused on quickest path to revenue relationships. Next question, as several trials are planned shortly, is the team planning to patent the intellectual rights of Vectorspace, models, algorithms, and such? I know based on experience that patenting algorithms, models is extremely difficult. Okay, so we've already patented algorithms. We've done this in conjunction with a U.S. national laboratory, Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. We understand the power of a patent portfolio. We understand the risks of a patent portfolio as well. When you file a provisional patent, you are giving away your secret sauce. We have no intention on doing that. We intend to keep the most valuable components of what we have as trade secrets. We do intend to start a patent portfolio, but we will not include certain trade secrets in those. Next question, what are the biggest challenges in 2021 for VXV to overcome? More on the technical side or more on the business side? Well, we're looking at a couple of things. First would be cookie cutting our product line and automating our business development. Those would be the two focuses we'd like to have that we know would be the most difficult because they are for any company. The next question, should current ETH struggles with fees and network congestion remain long-term, will VXV consider moving to a different blockchain provider? No, we'll roll our own chain. Next question, how long before Vectorspace is first recognized or awarded aid in science or breakthrough or discovery? That's a very good question. No one knows how long it takes to make a discovery. No one knows how long a piece of string is. So we'll work closely with the academic institutions we have good relationships with, and most of our energy is going to be put into space biosciences. And that's based on our datasets powering new discoveries that can be made in terms of how human DNA is protected and repaired during space travel. We cannot establish bases on the moon or go to Mars or investigate or explore habitable planets without protecting human DNA and repairing human DNA in the process. And the only way to do that is to understand human biology, understand human genomics, all the omics, especially epigenomics. Next, we'll move on to our exchanges section. So as mentioned last week, Kraken put in a request to CloudQuant. CloudQuant notified us and said, hey, Kraken contacted us. They want datasets through us, from you. And we said, fantastic. Bring them aboard. So we'll see how far they've gotten. We haven't heard from them yet, but we will have updates, I'm sure, on that soon. So we will we'll see here. I think that after our S&P release, after our news release from S&P, or even another one from CloudQuant, that'll be the trigger. We think that Kraken is doing due diligence on us. And then we've got the IR, PR, and Marcom side. So as mentioned, we are targeting a couple of releases for February. We're working as fast as we can, but we do have to work at the speed of our large enterprise customers and revenue sharing dataset distribution partners. So we were on the phone with S&P today, and I'm going to get into that later in our strategy section. But let me just remind everyone that we have a full PR pipeline this year. We are not short in anything that we can talk about to the public. And of course, as we've mentioned before, we want to make sure that every PR is better than the last. On the strategy section, we intend to focus. And we've got 3 focuses. We have got that SAO, Statement of Work for GNC. We have got Cloud Quant. We have got S&P. And we are hard at work trying to deliver as fast as we can and working at their speed as well. There's a bit of stopping and starting, but that's normal. So on the S&P side, we did have a chance to talk with S&P today. We got a number of updates from them. We talked with Patrick over there, and we talked about fast tracking some kind of listing. And that included an introduction. They offered to introduce us to their listing team. It's a completely different group than their market intelligence dataset team. And that's a different group than their API team. So we're talking with all 3 teams now, and we are looking forward to concurrently working with their listing team and their market intelligence team and rolling the data sets out, as well as seeing if we can work with their listing team on doing whatever it takes to get qualified to be listed. We don't know what those qualifications are, but what we do know is that we're providing S&P with valuable data sets, but more than that, with revenue. So it's in their best interest, of course, to direct any attention on the showcasing of our data sets as it results in revenue for themselves. So any highlighting of Vectorspace is valuable for them. We also provide unique and powerful data sets, unlike anything else that they've seen, which is what they've said. So showcasing Vectorspace all the way around is a benefit to them and to us. And a listing would be both beneficial to them and to us. So we'll see where this goes. We're going to see if we can act as fast as possible as usual. And then lastly, our name, VectorspaceAI, will be on Mars, February 18th. That's when the new rover lands. We've got our name etched on the Explorer, on the little rover, and it is on a metal plate. And we thought that it would be appropriate. We also thought that it would be kind of neat. This has been a pre-recorded call. If you have any questions, feel free to join us online. Thanks for joining.